looking for that great next read or your new favorite author? Check out Amy's Bookshelf Reviews recommendations. You won't be disappointed. Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. It is a spin-off of the website and book review site of Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast is about book reviews, a writer's muse, a book's peruse, author interviews, and literary news. Welcome to the new year, where new things may happen with this. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you for listening.
Good evening, listeners. I'm Amy, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. This is going to be a new segment on this podcast. It's called Amy's Storytime for all ages. So every second Sunday of the month, I will be talking about a children's book. Maybe I'll have a children's author on the show. One of the things that I strongly believe, and anyone who knows me or have heard it come out of my mouth, is that I believe all adults should read children's books. And I'm not talking about young adults, young adult books, or even middle grade. I'm talking about the books that if you had children, you would be reading to your children. But also, getting older, as they get older, they'll be reading different kinds of books. And I know there's a lot going on in the world, and some parents, not all parents, are trying to make the decision for all parents and all children on what should be read and what not. I'm a parent of adult children, but when they were little, then I would choose the book that I would read to them. Many times I would write my own story for them because they love being characters in a story. And also, I would not want someone else making that decision of what I can and cannot read to my children. When my kids brought home books from the library, and I would read them with them. And I think that children's books are becoming more involved and more educational without telling kids that, oh, you're learning something. And I think also that children's books are coming out with stories to show children that in some situations they're not alone. I've read books on children who are going through gender identity crisis, and I don't know if that's the right word to use, but they're trying to figure out who they are. They question the kind of things that they like. I've also read books on where there's so many different types of family. There is no one traditional family anymore. They used to say the American family is a mom, a dad, a son, a daughter, a dog, and a white picket fence. Or 2.5 children, and I don't know how you would have a half a child, but that was what they would say. When I say they, I mean it was an actual thing 30, 40, 50 years ago. As a Gen Xer or somebody who grew up in the 70s and 80s, things were not the same. There were so many books I couldn't get enough of. I loved to read. Before I could read, I would tell stories, or my mom would read me stories. And then if I didn't like the way it ended, or I didn't like the story, I would retell it, in a way that I thought that it was better. Yeah, so for all those fairy tales, yeah, I had my own version of them. Um, and my mom would call me her little storyteller. But that was one thing. She taught me how to read. I knew how to read before I went to kindergarten. I knew my alphabet. I knew how to tie my shoes. I could read at a first and second grade level. Um, and I loved reading. And when I was in kindergarten, I loved story time, where you could just sit and listen to a teacher read to you. When you think of it as adults, how many times have you been read to, um, say, the last 5 years? I'm not talking about you reading yourself, but how long has it been since someone actually read to you? And I tell you, you think about it, and it's kind of magical in a way. And listening to someone tell you, I think, a story, I think maybe that is why the audiobooks are getting more and more people want to put their books on audio. And I completely understand that. The stories that you could listen to, and a lot of people, they listen to them while they're in their commuting, or they're waiting in the doctor's office. But I like to lay down in my bed and close my eyes and listen to someone read to me. And sometimes it's my computer, or it's the voice from an audiobook app. But today, I'm going to share with all of you something that I find is very important. And that is sharing my own children's book with you. I was working for this client of mine, and he is a multi-genre author, and he wrote this group of children's books. And they just kind of bring you back in time to a simpler time, simpler place. And it inspired me to see if I could come up with my own story. It had been so long since I had written for children. I mean, I never published any of those books. I just wrote them for my sons, or I wrote a book for my niece and one for my nephew that was specific to them, had their name in it, and they like to do that. There used to be a place that you could order books with your children's name in it as the main characters and their friends and things like that. And this is kind of what I wanted to do. And this also is not just to get adults to read children's books, but I am saddened by the number of persons in the world, in this country, that are illiterate. And it's not excuse me, it's not an insult. It's um he he I've seen people graduate high school and they couldn't read above 5th grade level. I've seen, and they were in regular classes. I'm not talking about special needs kids that, have issues with reading or writing. That's something different. But when you graduate and people just push you through without thinking about it, that I can see why the Board of Education has, tightened some of their policies about testing and things like that for kids to graduate high school, but actually know what they're doing. And also, sometimes kids learn at a different way, and they need teachers need to be aware of how kids learn. Not everybody learns the same way. So, the book I wrote, it's called What Am I? And I'm just going to read um, a couple pages, probably probably 4 pages of the book. In this book, I'm proud of it. It's got the cover is actual a painting that I had done of the sketch of my kitty cat, in the book. And so I did not, and the raindrops and a lot of things are paintings that I've done. Some backgrounds I've used, my sketches, I've, created, turned some of my sketches into, art on Photoshop. And so I have various types of, um, sketches and things that I either sketched it, I either painted it, or I created it using Photoshop. So, I'm just going to read a couple pages of this book, and hopefully you'll want to buy it. I have republished it because I forgot the first time to put the Library of Congress number in it. So this is the second edition, but the only thing that's changed is the ISBN number and the actual story. So, What Am I? By Amy Shannon. Drip, 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 splash. The rain fell, aiming at our home. This cardboard box was our home. Home couldn't keep us dry. Mother couldn't keep us dry. My brothers pushed their way under Mother, pushing me away with their paws. I nuzzled under the flap of the bottom of the box. My ears were long, longer than my brothers'. My brothers were all white. I was mostly black, but I did have some white on me. My eyes weren't the same color. One was blue and the other green. I knew I was different, and so did everyone else, and they didn't want me because of that. Drip. It kept dripping. And then another splash. A small puddle was forming near where I was trying to sleep. I wrapped my ears around my paws, and I was warm. I still wanted a mother, but she didn't want me. I learned about the world through stories my mother told my brothers. Humans could be nice or mean, good or not good. If they pet you or feed you, it's a good human. If they ignore you, kick you, or throw you, not a good human. Some humans are big and some are small. Just like Mother is bigger than me or my brothers, the small ones seem to be the nicest. When that big human carried her box out to this noisy and wet place, Mother bit him. He dropped the box and left us. Mother said she'd take care of my brothers, but I was on my own and should find a way out of the box before any human saw me. I woke up to the sound of humans, noisy as they were. I could hear the excitement from a young human. Free, he cried. Mommy, free. I don't know what he meant, but when I opened my eyes, my mother and my brother were gone. A few mews from my brother. Free, free, slowly disappeared, as did the mews, gone. Grumble, grumble. I was wet and hungry. The drips and splashes seemed to slow down. I need food, and some water would be nice. I need to get out of this box. I paced back and forth. My front paws were wet, and my back paws were even wetter. I kept tripping over my wet, soggy ears. Brr, brr. Nothing helped me keep warm. So if you want to uh, read the rest of the book, right now as of this recording, it's on Lulu, but it is scheduled to also be put back on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, as hardcover, paperback, and digital. I recommend paperback or hardcover. I think your children would really enjoy that. Um, Another thing that I wanted to talk about, as an author, I have changed my way of thinking of writing. I was writing full-length novels, the strength of strong women, women that can be strong but also be vulnerable. And then when I started having issues with my hands, I started writing short stories. And I don't know why, but all of a sudden I was drawn into the world of paranormal. And that got interesting. And then I wrote this child's book, created it, and I was sending it out to, people that I knew had little children, and I was trying to get see if they liked it, what they liked about the story, that kind of thing. So that's what I did. I sent it out. I sent one to my aunt because she has grandchildren. I sent one to my niece, who's 10, and to see how she liked it. I gave my daughter-in-law one to give to her cousin, just to see how they like the story. And I haven't gotten bad feedback, and I was more nervous, not about the story, but about the various types of graphics I have in the book, but no one seemed to mind. And one little boy, well, he's my cousin, but my aunt's grandson, he said his favorite part were the sketches that I did of the cat, Free. And in the beginning, he calls himself Free because he thinks that's his name. So, and then I got inspired by my own cats. I love my kitties. I have an emotional support animal. I support him and he supports me, and I'm one of his humans. So I have written a few stories, about 5 at this point, about their lives, the adventures of Flash and Tange. And I have the stories written. Now I just have to work on the illustrations. But it's something that I can't wait to get out, and share with others. And I want people to read. If you can't read, or you can only read a little, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but your life would be it'd be improved immensely if you learn how to read. I wish I could do more and help people learn how to read. I've known a few people that read very slowly, or they were teenagers, but they were reading as if they were learning to read for the first time. I always hated an English class where the teacher would make kids read out loud, because not everyone could read it very well, and it's just kind of like, it was like, hurry up already. But, and it was also sad, and people would pick on the kid because he couldn't read very well. But then that kid ended up graduating anyway, or some of them did. So if you're a parent, teach your children how to read. If you don't know how to read, get help. If you know how to read a little bit, you can improve your reading by practice. Get some kids' books that teach you how to read. And they're also entertaining as well. So if you or someone you love doesn't really know how to read, see what you can do to learn how to read. In this world, there are, I don't even know how many languages and words that exist, and words that have no emotion or impact behind them are just words. So again, learn how to read. My great uncle was a very nice man. He quit school so he could work on the family farm. He never learned how to read. He signed his name with an X. And there are forms that you can actually still do. Sign your name, you sign it with an X, and then you have a witness. So when you can't even write your own name, I think that's pretty sad. But I'm going to wrap up here for now, and I hope that you will enjoy the new segment, Amy's Storytime for All Ages. If you wish for you or your book to be on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast. Thank you for listening. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews. If you are looking to be on the podcast or looking for a book review, you can go to amysbookshelfreviews.com and look for the appropriate navigational menu. Again, thank you all for listening and being a supporter of this podcast and of the Amy's Bookshelf Reviews professional reviewers of books and audiobooks. Thank you all. Be safe and be well.